Yesterday, I did something no African leader has dared to do in decades. I picked up the phone and told the most powerful man in the world exactly what I thought about his plan to destroy my people's future. That man was Donald Trump. And what I told him will change the way you think about how small nations deal with superpowers. But before I tell you what happened on that call, because trust me, it was explosive, you need to understand what was really at stake. This wasn't just about trade. This wasn't just about economics. This was about whether 22 million of my people would eat tomorrow or whether they would become refugees fleeing a continent the world has already written off. My name is Ibrahim Traoré. I am 35 years old. I lead Burkina Faso. And yesterday, I declared war, not on a country, but on a system that has been bleeding Africa dry for centuries. 3 days ago, my advisors rushed into my office with news that made my blood run cold. The United States was preparing to impose a 30% tariff on everything we export to America. Not 5%, not 10, 30. That's not a trade adjustment. That's economic execution. And what truly angered me was how we found out, not through diplomacy, not through respect, but through rumors, leaked documents, and whispers from diplomats who couldn't even look us in the eye. As if 22 million human beings weren't worth a phone call before their economy was destroyed. That's when I knew this wasn't about trade. This was about power. A message: Africa, know your place, be grateful for scraps, never forget who's in charge. They were wrong. So I made the call. And when Trump's voice came through that secure line, I knew immediately he thought I was calling to beg. His tone said it all. Casual dismissal, no respect, no equality. He talked about America's economy, America's jobs, America's future. I let him finish. Then I said something no American president has heard from an African leader in decades. Mr. President, let me tell you about my economic interests. Silence. That's when I told him what his 30% tariff would mean for my people. I told him about Sarah, a 23-year-old woman in Ouagadougou who works in a textile factory, supporting her mother, her 2 brothers, and her infant daughter. When that tariff hits, Sarah loses her job. Her family goes hungry. Her daughter doesn't get medicine. Her brothers leave school to find work that doesn't exist. And then Sarah joins millions of desperate Africans looking north toward Libya, toward the Mediterranean, toward boats that sometimes make it to Europe and sometimes don't. That's what America first means, when you're on the wrong side of it. I told Trump all of this, and then I told him something that made him go very, very quiet. Mr. President, you can destroy our textile industry today, but when 10 million young Africans start moving toward your allies in Europe because their economies collapsed, don't call me asking why your migration crisis just got 10 times worse. That was the moment the conversation changed. He asked me, "What do you want?" As if my people's survival was something to be bargained for. I told him, I don't want anything from you, Mr. President. I want you to stop taking from us. I explained how for every dollar of so-called aid America gives Africa, we send back $5 in debt payments, in resource extraction, in unfair trade. We're not being helped, we're being harvested. I told him Africa doesn't need charity. We need fairness. We need the right to process our own resources. We need trade agreements that lift us up, not keep us down. And for the first time, Trump actually listened. He asked me what a fair deal would look like. I told him, remove the tariffs, let us process our cotton and our gold, respect our sovereignty, no more aid with strings attached, no more development programs that benefit American companies more than African people. He asked me, why should I care? And I told him the truth, because when African economies collapse, the problems don't stay in Africa. They spread to Europe, to America, to the world. Terrorism, mass migration, instability. These are born from desperation, and desperation grows when people have no jobs, no opportunities, no future. I told him, you can be part of the solution, or you can watch the problems get worse. But don't pretend they won't reach your doorstep. That's when the call became something I never expected. For the first time, Trump began asking questions about Africa's potential, about our agriculture, our technology, our manufacturing. For a brief moment, it felt like the conversation we should have been having for decades. And then he said something that gave me hope. Not a promise, not a deal, but hope. He said, let me look into this. Give me some time. It was more than most African leaders ever get from Washington, but I want you to understand something. This call wasn't really about Trump. It wasn't really about tariffs. It was about Africa finally saying enough. Enough of being treated like beggars in our own house. Enough of watching our wealth leave while our people stay poor. Enough of pretending we're partners while being treated like problems. I'm not afraid of American power. I respect it. But I know this. Power without legitimacy is just force, and force without consent always fails. I will not beg, I will not bow, I will lead my people with dignity, and I will make the world hear Africa's voice, whether they are ready or not.